When we talk with teachers, teachers will often say, it's the parents who aren't sending his children who know right from wrong, and so on. So we know that the school has to build on the work that the family does. The family lays the foundation. There has to be a partnership between home and school. Schools cannot completely make up for what parents fail to do. They can do a great deal. They can produce sometimes amazing growth in a young person. But nobody can take the place of a mother or a father. We have to build on the foundation that the family lays down. We also know that parenting skills are learned. We don't know how to parent naturally. The skills are acquired. Sometimes we can learn a lot from our own parents. Sometimes we have to learn not to do what our parents did. But one way or another, our skills develop through learning. I have a friend who says God sends his children to teach us humility. Being a parent requires a lot of character, and especially a lot of humility. Our children's bad behavior is a source of embarrassment. It's a source of frustration. And we often find out our own character flaws in the process of parenting. We never realized what a bad temper we had, or how impatient we are, and so on. I know my own character flaws came to the fore as a result of being a father. So there's a lot of humility required. I'm going to talk about 10 different things involved in trying to raise good kids, children of character. These are all 10. Someone just asked me about sibling rivalry. Number 8 deals with conflict. How do you handle conflict in the family? Conflict between kids, conflict between parents and kids. And I'll share some very practical strategies for dealing with conflict in a positive way that not only solves the conflict, but fosters character in the process. The first principle is simply to know what character is and to make character development a high priority. Now, if we want to raise kids of character, we have to have a concept of character, and then we have to make it a very high priority in our family life. Not every family does that. Some families may be focused on material success. Other families may be focused on simply pursuing pleasure, entertainment, constantly having a good time. The worst thing in life is to be bored. Whereas other families have a real sense of mission. They have a sense of a noble purpose in life. And therefore, character is important. The parents' character is important to themselves. They want to be good examples. And their character of their children is important. They care about the kind of person their child is becoming. And they're aware of the fact that as parents, they are affecting, influencing the kind of character their children are developing. In my own graduate course in character education, I have my students write an essay answering this question: how did your parents influence your character development? If you were asked to write about that, what would you say? If your children were asked to write about it, what would they say? How are you influencing their character? One young woman, aged 25, wrote a very touching essay in which she said, "I was an only child. My parents loved me very much. But their way of showing that was to give me whatever I wanted. Now, as an adult, I struggle with selfishness. I struggle with selfishness." She got her way as a child, and she grew into a self-centered adult who had a difficult time when she did not get her own way. So what we do as parents has long-term outcomes. It affects our children not just now as children, but also as adults. What do we mean by good character? One way to define it is in terms of the 8 strengths of character that I spoke of earlier. Another way is to speak of the particular virtues that support each of the 8 strengths. The 10 essential virtues come also from cross-cultural sources. They can be found in societies and religions around the world. And each of these virtues is really involved in each of the 8 strengths of character. And I think you'll be able to see that as you move through them. Let me just briefly touch on each. Wisdom This relates very closely to ethical thinker, but really wisdom is involved in being a diligent and capable performer. Wisdom is involved in being a spiritual person. Wisdom is involved in being a lifelong learner. Good judgment is a character strength, a virtue which is involved across the 8 strengths. Justice, respect for the rights of others. Fortitude is the inner strength to do what's hard when it's hard to do it. One high school has as its motto, the hard right instead of the easy wrong. Do the hard right instead of the easy wrong. It takes fortitude, patience, perseverance, courage to do what is difficult in life. Self-control, these first 4 all were named by the ancient Greeks, allows us to govern our appetites, our passions, our impulses. Self-control is something that develops quite early in life. There was a famous study done called the Marshmallow Test, conducted at Stanford University in the 1970s. They had 4-year-old children come into a room, and the experimenter put a nice, fresh marshmallow on the table and said to the 4-year-old child, "You can eat this marshmallow now if you wish, but I'm going to leave the room to run an errand. I'll be back in 15 minutes, and if the marshmallow is still there, you'll get a second marshmallow. But if the marshmallow is gone, that's the only one you get." You're 4 years old, what do you do? Well, different 4-year-olds did different things. Some 4-year-olds ate the marshmallow in a matter of seconds. Other 4-year-olds struggled with temptation, but they finally gave in. But some 4-year-olds went the full 15 minutes and earned the second marshmallow. How did they do it? Well, the video camera was going and it captured their various self-control strategies. Some 4-year-olds put their heads down and tried to go to sleep so they wouldn't have to deal with the marshmallow. Others turned their back so they wouldn't see the marshmallow. Others were recorded using self-talk as a self-control strategy. I really want that other marshmallow. He's going to be back in a few minutes. I can just wait a little bit longer. I'll get that other marshmallow. So even at age 4, about 1/3 of the children had the self-control to delay gratification and earn the distant reward of that second marshmallow. They followed these 4-year-olds all the way until they were high school seniors. And they compared the ones who were the instant grabbers with the ones who earned the second marshmallow. How were they different now that they were 17 years old? The ones who had delayed gratification at age 4 were still better able to set goals and to work toward them. They had less stressful interpersonal relationships. Their academic grades were better. Their college entrance scores were 100 points higher on average, and so on. A number of significant differences in overall character development at age 17, which could be predicted on the basis of the Marshmallow Test at age 4. Now, that doesn't mean that, as far as self-control is concerned, the game is over at 4. They either got it or they don't. But if you find a child who's impulsive and has little self-control at 4, you know that you have your work cut out. You need to pay attention to that, develop the child's ability to wait, to control impulse, to set goals, to delay gratification, because there'll be long-term consequences if you don't.